Hello everyone, welcome to our International Conference for Teachers of English. Today it is my honor to introduce one of our presenters, Milton Licona. In order to get to know him better, I'm going to read a little bit about his biography. He earned a bachelor's degree in English language teaching at Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo and holds a master's degree in applied linguistics by Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León in Monterrey, Mexico. He was an exchange student in Germany, and later, when studying his master's, he did research staying in Spain, Universidad de Oviedo. Academically speaking, he has published articles in national and international social science magazines. Milton Licona has been granted different diplomas on pedagogy and language certifications for English and German. Mainly, he has served as a teacher of English in both public and private institutions, as well as teaching methodology at university level. Currently, he works as a professor at Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo in Pachuca, Mexico. Let's welcome Milton Licona.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. My name is Milton Licona, and I would like to point out that last conference, I had opportunity to participate in it. And this time around, I had the invitation, and of course, I couldn't let this opportunity go. So thank you, Universidad Pedagógica Francisco Morazán, for having me over in this 12th International Conference for Teachers of English. And today I'm going to share with you my experience with an activity in the hope that it can be of help for you teachers, that you can bring it down to your context and you can adapt it, modify it in order to fulfill your needs, and start looking for different ways to implement our teaching. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so the name of this talk is hands-on activities, learning by doing and learning by helping. So this is the content that we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to start by giving you some context. Then I'll talk to you about teacher training that I took, because this idea didn't come from my head, of course. I took it from a teacher training course that I took a couple of years ago, probably. And ever since, I tried to adapt things, and this is what actually we're looking today. Everything that we share among teachers of English, I think it's of help, because we create this community in which we can share different experiences, different activities, and try to see how these activities can fit into my context and into my classrooms. Then we'll go ahead and talk about the project-based learning, which is what I'm doing. I'll talk to you about my first approach and my experience, and then the second approach, which has been consolidated a little bit more than the first one, of course, and that's the one in which that's the one that I have stuck with for the last probably 3 semesters. All right, so let's start off by the context. As mentioned before, my name is Milton Licona, and I'm a teacher of English. My undergraduate program from which I graduated is English language teaching. And then I hold a master's degree in applied linguistics. Now, that being said, let me tell you about my workplace. My workplace is Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo, which is the state's university from the state of Hidalgo here in Mexico, very close to Mexico City. So this is where I'm working currently. More specifically, I work at ICSU. ICSU stands for Instituto de Ciencias Sociales y Humanidades, social sciences, right? So this is the School of Social Sciences from this university, from UIH. And currently I'm teaching in the program of Licenciatura en Enseñanza de la Lengua Inglesa. It is also known as LELI because of, the beginning of the words, Licenciatura en Enseñanza de la Lengua Inglesa, which stands for English Language Teaching. That means that my students are pre-service teachers. So in the short future, my students are going to become teachers of English, which kind of like sets a challenge for us teachers. All of us teachers have challenges, of course. In my specific case, not only is it to be a teacher of English, but to be a model for these future teachers of English, right? So my students, the ones that I have worked with these activities, they are consolidating the B1 level according to the Common European Framework of References of Languages. So they are on an intermediate level, right? So this is my context, and it is a little bit challenging, but I really like it. Now, where does this idea come from? As mentioned before, I took a teacher training course. This teacher training course was given by Full Sail University. Full Sail University is a US-based university. It focuses a lot on video gaming, technology, and different things. But there's also this part that focuses on the training of teachers of English. So that being said, this university established in Florida, and we took this course throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, meaning that we had opportunity to take this course online. And of course, all the paperwork and all the arrangement for us to be able to actually take this course was through our university, Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo. It was really interesting. We had actually different topics that we had to cover every month. So as you can see here, we have monthly modules. And in these modules, we have different webinars. We have different examples and models. We have video sessions to engage into a discussion with Dr. Holly Lotgate, who was the facilitator from this teacher professional development course. And not only did we do the webinars and the discussions within the video sessions, but also we had hands-on challenges, which means whatever we were looking in the webinars, whatever we were discussing in the video sessions, we were trying to replicate, of course, within our context to see what could work and what not. Among these many different things, we had things related to music in the classroom, gamification, technology in the classroom, project-based learning. It was a long course, but of course it was worth it taking it because we could take many ideas from here and start implementing things in our classrooms. So project-based learning, which is what I took from this teacher training course, in a few words, we can say that it's about teaching concepts and practicing skills with very hands-on activities. In a way, we can say that this is a constructivist approach. Of course, there are many guidelines to follow through, and there are many aspects that we have to take into consideration for these. But I'm going to walk you through the most important ones that I take into consideration for my class, for my specific class, and for my specific activities. Of course, in the way, there are so many other things that come into play, but I'm going to mention whatever I believe is important in my classroom, right? So the first thing is that these type of activities on project-based learning are engaging for students, which is a really important thing. Sometimes whenever we do just, book-based activities, the students are not really engaged. They just want to finish the work, fill it out, and finish with it. In this case, you will see, if you implement this eventually, you will see that students get really engaged with the activity. Since students are working in groups, then we are fostering collaboration and communication, cooperation as well, right? And another important thing for project-based learning is the 21st century life skills. Now, these can be also split into too many things. I'm going to narrow it down to just a couple of them, which is what the things that we do in my classroom. And of course, again, there are some of the things that come into play, but whatever I'm implementing or whatever I'm creating the conditions for in terms of 21st century life skills are the following. So among the all different things that we can do or we can mention about the 21st century skills, it's number one, well, not number one, but for me, number one is social responsibility. So we're in the lookout for having an impact in our context, and you will see what I'm talking about whenever I tell you about my different activities. Number two, the number two thing that I have here for 21st century skills is the planning. And with this, we can get involved with the creativity, with communication, decision making, discussing. So this is a thing that students get really involved with. And finally, we have the use of technology. So in order for them to develop all these different projects, then they have to be using technology, which is, of course, probably one of the most important things from the 21st century skills, right? Nowadays, if you are not literate with technology, you are kind of like outdated. So in this case, we incorporate it into our projects in order, to become not only skillful with the language, but also with technology. And technology is going to help us with the tasks. Remember, the tasks are a little bit different than activities in the sense that tasks are used for real life activities or real life like activities, right? All right. So project-based learning, how can we implement it? In very short, in a very short way, we can say that it's through 4 different steps, which is beginning with a question. Then we have an inquiry process. Then we have the presenting of findings from students. It is always important that students show their findings, and they like to see their work reflected, and they really like that other people can see their work. And finally, we have to find a solution for that problem. So as you can see, this is kind of like a complete process. So we begin with a question with may state a problematic situation, if you may. That's why whenever I said you need to start looking for things that can fit to context, or that you can do in your context, because my specific context in Pachuca, in this university, it's different from probably another university in Mexico City, and of course another university from Honduras or El Salvador, or different countries, right? So we can start with a question, and from this question, which may state a problem, because remember that at the end we need to find a solution for that specific issue. Then we need to do some research. Students do some research, they present findings, and then we'll find a way to find the solution for it. Of course, we are not looking for fixing things that are meant to be fixed by other authorities, maybe for the state, maybe for the government, whatever. But we are doing what we can from our places, right? So I'm going to talk to you about my first approach and experience with this project-based learning situation. After we took the course, we thought it was very interesting. Of course, all of the things, and we have been trying to implement different things throughout the semesters. But probably the first one that kind of like caught our attention, especially to another teacher and me, was this one about the projects. So students usually see the class of English as very boring and always doing the same, like take out your student's book, take out your workbook and start filling things out, teacher explaining. So if we start changing this a little bit, yes, we do have a syllabus to follow through, and we have some topics that we have to cover, because I think this is a universal thing. I mean, whether we want it or not, most of schools have to follow, and we have to complete a syllabus and different things. The challenge here is to find different ways to adapt whatever you have in your courses, in your course book, in your syllabus, trying to adapt it in order to present it differently to students so they can do different things. Now, what you are looking at right now in the screen is one of the modules. Well, you can see here, there's a list of the different topics from the book that we're using. It's a book that is called On Screen. Of course, for this level, which is B1 plus, if I'm not mistaken. And we can see here the different modules: living together, survival, work, entertainment, can you help, and don't be afraid. The first time when we started approaching the project-based learning, we wanted to do it with this module or unit, don't be afraid. Very self-descriptive, right? So this module it's about the different things people are afraid of, as you can see here, flying, storms, open water, etc. And then what people might be afraid of: closed spaces, storms, whatever, and different ways that we can different words to talk about the emotions whenever we are afraid, right? We can feel anxious and nervous and embarrassed. If you remember, project-based learning is about teaching concepts through projects. Now, of course, as any other lesson, we have to have a pre-activity where you are looking at the different, pieces of vocabulary for them to then, consolidate it and work with them. So we can say that this is kind of like the vocabulary that we're aiming at in this unit. Don't be afraid. And so we start here with a question, which is the cycle from the project-based learning, right? So what are you afraid of? So after we looked at this, then it's asking students what they are afraid of. And of course, we have different answers. And then I posed a question and I said, what do you think people from our undergraduate program are afraid of? Because you may be afraid of something, but maybe not, it's not a common thing, or maybe it is, right? So in order for them to find out, they to get all this information, which is when it comes, the second step is to do some inquiry, to do some research. In this case, what my students do, let me see if I have it here. Yes, there it is. They create a survey, and this survey is about, what are you afraid of? Why do you think you're afraid of that? How do you feel when you face this fear or phobia? And I think one of the questions they ask is whether they have dealt successfully with this phobia or not. So as you can see, not only are they working on the research, so they have to find out about all of our students from the program. They have to find out their fears and phobias, why they have this fear, how they have coped with this fear, and so on. So they need to come down to an agreement as a class and see what kind of questions they're going to be asking, how they're going to be asking them. And not only that, once they go into the different classrooms, because that's what we do, so they come up with the survey. As you can see here, it says 58 students questioned. So we go to different classrooms, and my students do the survey with the different classmates. It's very interesting because, as you can see, we have very common fears, right? And so once everybody get this information, of course, everybody's interviewing different people. Otherwise, we will be doubling the information. You need to be really careful with that in case you want to run a survey. Otherwise, you're doubling information, and then it becomes a little biased, right? Anyway, so once we get the information, then we come into a classroom again, and now they have to decide how they're going to be classifying or categorizing this information in order to present it in this case, a graphic bar, right? Again, we are promoting communication. We are promoting collaboration. We're promoting research, and so on. So they have to together. I mean, you as a teacher, you are the monitor and you're the facilitator, but you let them work. Most of the work, they do it, right? This is why they say that students, they should have a voice and an opinion on project-based learning. So basically, they work it out, right? And as you can see, that once they get all the information, they need to find a way on grouping or classifying the information, and then how they're going to be presented it, right? As you can see here, we have a graph bar. So we have spiders, insects, water, heights, animals, and others. I guess this is open water, right? So they can become very creative. Not only are they analyzing the information and having different categories for it, but also they have their artistic side. All of these things, they're done by hand, of course, right? It's not like they look amazing, but I mean, it's a really well done job. Now, up until here, we can say that we are on step 3, right? What do they have to do for step 4, which is here they are already presenting their work. And as you can see, I put it here in the place where students take classes. So whenever everybody walks around, they can see the results. And as mentioned before, students really, really like seeing their work presented, and they like to see that others are interested in what they did as a group. But what is more interesting is what comes next, because now we have some fears and phobias, and I remember from the other class, because I think I mentioned this before, I did it together with another teacher. So we have different groups, but they were doing the same thing. And I remember in her interviews, whenever they talk about fears and phobias, there were a lot of students who mentioned, oh, when it's exam the exam period, it's really stressing, or I'm afraid of a certain teacher, whatever, right? So things that are really from our context. Again, now what comes next is really interesting, because now we have to find a solution. Of course, we're not gonna um, help everybody to deal with or to cope with their fears and phobias. But the question here is, how can we help these people with the different fears and phobias? And this is when students get really creative, and they proposed to have a day with different workshops. And in these workshops, they were going to present different techniques for them to face their fears. So let's say, for example, it's exam time. So I'm going to give you some breathing techniques. So let's do it together. And now with this, probably you can implement it whenever you have a test, and this might help you. So now we are on step 4, which is finding a solution, right? Again, maybe we're not dealing with the whole problem or with everybody's issues in terms of fears and phobias, but we're providing some possible solutions for some of them, right? So as you can see, they started working on some flyers and different things. So they had to inform students that in a certain date, at a certain hour, they will be providing workshops for them to make their lives easier in different situations, right? Some students, like we can see here, they did it on the classroom. Uh, the other teacher was a little bit more intelligent, and she decided to do it in the auditorium from our school. And they had their workshops right over there. And as mentioned before, they talk about, well, they didn't talk, they got prepared, of course. They did again some research about different techniques to overcome fears and phobias, blah blah blah. And then they came into the classrooms, into the auditoriums, and then they talked to their classmates about it. So now they're helping their immediate context with fears and phobias just like them, and now they're giving them some sort of solution, something that can help them, right? So again, this is the first approach that we did. We really liked it. Then the other teacher, she had to retire, and I felt like I can do this myself. I probably retake it. If this helps you, take it, apply it in your context, and let me know how it goes. I'm thinking about retaking this project and do it in the following semester. But this is not the one that I have been working with for the last 3 semesters. This is just the very first approach that we had for project-based learning. Now, what comes next is what I'm doing now. I did it last semester. I did it the previous semester and the previous one. I think this is, can't remember whether this is the 3rd or 4th time that I've done this, which is already the second approach or experience. Again, what you're looking at here in my screen, it's the topic. If you remember, my first approach was with module 6, Don't Be Afraid. And after that, I change it. And then I do it with module 5. And the name of module 5 is Can You Help? Which comes, it's pretty, it comes in handy, because we already have the question right over here. Whatever we comes in the steps for the project-based learning, it's already here. Can you help, right? So as you can see, this module is about the different problems and issues that we have worldwide: poverty, homelessness, unemployment, pollution, endangered species, landfills, and so on. Again, we start with the pre-teaching of vocabulary. We do some activities from the book, but then we take this topic from the book and then we adapt it and we take it down for project-based learning. And I mean, the previous, probably for the previous module, which is Are You Afraid? It's a little bit more, it takes more time for you to think on what type of activities you can do for a project. Now, I think this one is easier. And as mentioned before, we already have here the question, can you help? And then that's what I ask students. Whenever we talk about our context, and then we said, probably one of the things that are affecting Pachuca, which is our city, is poverty. And not only they get, you know, they see these problems and they start thinking and they go beyond, like, well, we have a lot of problems with stray cats and stray dogs. So that's another issue here. And then comes the question, can we help? Can you help? Usually, it's never been a different thing, but it's yes, we can help. And then the question now is how? How can we help? And that's when they come with different projects. So what are you looking? What you're looking at here? It's the different people that students have been helping lately. They go for nonprofit organizations, and these nonprofit organizations are organizations that help either homeless people, or animal shelters, or foster homes. Okay. So again, here we're already probably on the first and second step from the project-based learning, because they need to do some research in terms of what are the organizations here in our city that help, different causes. Again, we engage into discussion. Students create different posters and have them around our school, so everybody is informed on what they're doing. In this case, they are collecting different items, right? 21st century skills. Now we're helping, so we have the social responsibility. We have, as you can see here, we have the use of technology. This is an infographic that students did, and they share these in their groups in WhatsApp. They share this in their social media sites. They share these. As a matter of fact, our program, well, not our program, because this is actually not from our university, but our students, they came up with an Instagram which is made from students for students. And as you can see here, this is called the Daily Lely, right? And again, this is something that students came up with, and this is information and different dynamics that they do in Instagram. It's really, really great. This was a great idea from them for their own community. So they also get involved with that. As you can see, this is a post from Instagram, and they say there's a donation drive. We need all these different items for a certain date and so on. So again, here we can see the social responsibility, because we help, well, not we, but they help different organizations. They use, we foster communication, we foster collaboration, and then we foster 21st century skills like the use of technology, right? So again, we have the social responsibility thing, and then we have the planning, creativity. So how they are going to spread the word? Well, when they need to plan a campaign, to design different posters, to design different infographics for them to share on social media, to decide who's going to do what and when is it going to happen, right? It usually takes me about 2 weeks, maybe sometimes 3 weeks, depending on the time that I have left. But in order for them to come up with the different things and already have everything ready just to post physically and on internet, it probably takes me about 2 or 3 days. And the rest of the days is just kind of like, go to the different classrooms and remind our students, remember that we have this collection of different items. We need your help. And then we get involved, all of our community, to help other people, to help animals, right? Now, all of the things that have to do with language are involved here. As mentioned before, we're already pre-taught vocabulary, but also there's some things that are related here with um, um, incidental learning. So, hi, teacher, how do you say arena para gatos? And how do you say this? And it's not only, they not only ask me, but, among them, there's some learning involved. And of course, whenever we go to the different classrooms and they talk about the campaign that they are carrying out, then there we have speaking, and then we have pronunciation, and we have listening. Here we have writing, of course, with whenever they designing the materials for their campaign. So it really involves a lot of things in here, and it's not as explicit as a regular class, right? Here we can see how they go to the different classrooms. They present their campaign. They different groups help different organizations, so they present and they say, so we're helping this organization and this is what we need, in the hope that you can help us to help others that are in need, and so on. So these are different generations. As you can see, this is a class and we collected all these items. It's not much, but in the end, it's something that is helpful for these different organizations that usually strive to get different products and items for the people that they are helping. Right here, we can see that they took different products for this organization that helps stray dogs. And I think this is a beautiful way to get students involved, not only with language, but also with helping our own community. And that's why I said at the beginning, I really hope that this idea can be implemented in your context and to help others within your own communities, like we do it here. Sometimes some teachers ask me, and how is it that you evaluate that? The first time that we did it, when our first approach, which was about fears and phobias, we did have a rubric, and of course in here, whatever you think it's the thing that you're observing in language is whatever you are going to have on your rubric. Is it the understanding of concepts? Is it language? Is it pronunciation? Is it speaking whenever they go around? But whenever I started doing this second approach, in which we help different organizations, which became more like a philanthropic thing, I do not evaluate, at least not this specific activity. As a matter of fact, I tell my students, whenever you go and give all these items to these organizations, do not mention this is for my English class, because in the end, you are not being evaluated with this, right? You used English as a means to construct a whole campaign and design a whole thing in order for you to help others. But I mean, we're not representing the class of English. We're not representing the university. You are not representing the teacher of the class. And I always tell them, if they ever ask you, because usually organizations, if they have like Instagram or Facebook, they're like, oh, let's take a picture and let's say that students from the university, blah, blah, blah. And I tell them, do not get the university involved in this, because in the end, this is not from the university. It's from you and from your own community in the university to help others. So of course you can have your names in the post if you want to, but this is more like a philanthropic thing, and it's, as mentioned before, I probably in my case, I wouldn't be able to evaluate and to give a grade to students who are helping. In the end, I think they are practicing skills and they are using language and so on. But evaluation, like to me, it doesn't fit here. But again, of course, it's all up to you. I did it the first time in my first approach, but of course we were not helping nonprofit organizations. It was just a talk, a workshop with different relaxation techniques within our own community, right? So this is basically what I wanted to share with you, how learning and how using the language can be extended beyond our classroom, right? Sometimes we just discuss issues in the classroom, but we don't really provide a solution. Again, we're not really providing a solution in order for this to end, but we are helping in a way to these different organizations that strive for having different products and different items for the people or for the animals that they are helping. As a last thing, I have this quotation from the educational researcher Sylvia Chart, and then she says, one of the major advantages of project work is that it makes school more like real life. It's an in-depth investigation of a real-world topic worthy of students' attention and effort. And you will see that if you ever implement this, you will see how students get really engaged with the activities, and they are really willing to help others that are in need. I always tell them, maybe all of us have needs, but out there, outside of our university, you will find that there's people with many more needs than ours, right? So I tell them, if you cannot help by donating, you can help just by spreading the word. So this gets to more people and they're helping. I remember the first time we did it just with our own students from the ELT program. And of course, because it was directed to them, right? But last time I opened this donation drive for all the campus, and then we had the different posters around all the school, and we have a lot of help, not only from students, but also from teachers and people from maintenance and janitors, and everybody was involved, and I think it's a great thing. My piece of advice is take whatever you think it's interesting, adapt it. You need to try to find topics from your syllabus, from your course book, and see how you can adapt them and bring them down to a project. And it will be best if this project has an impact in your communities, right? That's why the name of this talk is hands-on activities, learning by doing and learning by helping. Because in the end, I think we are helping others who are in need. Again, feel free to make adaptations, to see what works for you, and hopefully you can get in touch with me and let me know if it worked. Well, I think that will do it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. I really hope that this sparks the drive in you to do something like this. I'm sure you're gonna love it. I'm sure your students are gonna enjoy it, and most importantly, we're going to be helping our own communities. All right, so let me stop my presentation. Thank you very much.